Let's talk about some clutch boosting. What up, my dudes? Okay, we got to get in here and talk about this absolutely crucial, critical mechanic to MX vs. ATV Legends. So, if you're not clutch boosting, what the fuck are you doing? You gotta be clutch boosting in this game, dog. Especially on the Supercross tracks and the transitions in a lot of the corners. I'm telling you right now, this was a big thing back in the MX vs. ATV Alive days. Felt like you needed to pull the clutch in, be right, and let out the clutch every time you land off of a jump, no matter what. Even sometimes in the corners when you're really trying to get the bike to get that little bit of extra boost out of the corners to hit some specific Supercross rhythm jump that's just a little too big to normally hit, right? It seems like there's a lot of those on MX vs. ATV Legends where it's almost like the tracks and the speed of the bike were made to where you have to clutch boost to hit certain jumps. And I don't know how you would hit those jumps without clutch boosting. Now, the interesting thing is there is a tuning setting that you can either select it down the road of like clutch boost, or I think the other side of it is like clutch shift speed or some shit. Bro, I don't get all caught up on what the fuck all this shit actually means, right? You try things out and you see how it feels, and I don't know. I still feel like there's a lot of clutch boosting, even if you have that setting set the complete opposite end of the actual clutch boost tuning setting. See if Spency boy can get through this shit, bro. It's a little much for the old 420 boy. Oh, damn. Nonetheless, if you haven't tried this, next time you come into a corner, just pull that clutch in, obviously staying on the gas. You never really have to let off the gas. You can almost, a lot of times, use that clutch kind of as not really your brakes, but, I don't know. If you've played games like Alive, the clutch boosting gas brake sort of, mechanical combo that you have to do with your button pressing to get it to actually give you that much of a boost, that's kind of just ingrained in the back of my head at this point from playing games like Alive where it was so crucial. I actually put quite a few hours into Alive back in the day, believe it or not. Was ripping on that 250F, seat bouncing, clutch boosting all over them damn James Stewart compound Supercross tracks and the DLC Arena Cross Supercrossy type tracks that came out for MX vs. ATV Alive. So Spency Boy's had his foot, pretty deep into some of these different clutch boosting style games. I didn't feel like it was quite as strong in All Out. I don't know. There's just something. I just didn't feel like the clutch boosting was super noticeable or whatever. But man, I tell you what, with Legends, it seems like almost like a fundamental aspect of the game to me. Maybe that may not be the case for everybody. I know it's not that way on all the motocross tracks, certainly not that way on the trail tracks. The Supercross tracks, I think, are the most, like, the way the landing system of this game is, and there's so much like momentum shifting, changing shit that happens when you micro lean too far forward over a jump landing or whatever. And it's like a lot of times it's either you're going to have to pull that clutch in and clutch boost, or you're going to just have zero momentum coming out of the transitions. It's like such a transition saver. And you can even use this clutch boost like in places where you never even think you would use it. Like you can be on a motocross track, I've noticed sometimes over some like little like double over braking bumps or like little weird little roughness hip doubles and shit where you barely, anytime them tires come off of the ground, like at all, you need to be pulling that clutch in and dumping that clutch as soon as you land. You know what I mean? any little kick or bump or hump or jump that sends that bike up off the ground, clutch boost. Because I promise, if you're clutch boosting in the perfect time when you land, you're simply going to be carrying more momentum than if you were just sitting there holding the gas down and you land. You know, it almost feels like there is like a momentum robbing effect whenever you land in this game, even if you land pretty good. You know, it's like really hard to get that smooth land, keep all the momentum, transition flow, and I feel like the clutch boosting really benefits you in that area. You know, it really helps you out in that area a lot. So just something to try if you've not really done a whole lot of clutch boosting. There's a lot of dirt bike games where the clutch doesn't really do all that much. You just use it for the starts. Legends is different than that. I truly believe Legends is quite a bit different than that. There's a lot of times where you just slide your ass all the way over in a corner and you kind of, set the bike into the corner and you lose all your momentum, and then you're just sitting there, so you need to clutch boost. But it's even more than that. It's not just for the really slow moments and the starts. You can use it anytime you come off the ground. You can use it, even just in some of the corners, depending on how ruddy they are. You might be able to clutch boost and it make you actually faster. It just depends on the corner, but this definitely feels way more like a clutch boost heavy kind of arcade motocross game gameplay to me, for sure. So just something to think about if you're struggling on some of these Supercross tracks, hitting some of these bigger rhythms, or how the fuck is Spencer hitting that 7 jump in on something. Well, it's 252 stroke, max excel, clutch boosting, timing, carrying momentum without losing momentum. There's like Legends has enough skill gap to it to where now after these updates, if you want to be hitting the absolute biggest possible jumps on all these Supercross tracks, you're going to have to know what the hell you're doing. You're going to have to know how to lean in this game. You're going to have to know how to seat bounce, control the bike, clutch boost, the little shit where you can lean like up and down multiple times in the air to get a little bit more extension out of the trajectory itself. There's all these little mechanics and these little things happening on Legends. If you haven't noticed, there's all these little, like, almost what you would consider like whip glitch for reflex type mechanics that you can do with the physics of the game to extend your jumps, jump up over rhythms that you wouldn't normally be able to, the clutch boosting and the timing of that with the leaning and the seat bouncing and the rocking in the air. All these things combined seems to be, the faster pro level mechanics in the game. It's always interesting because you're trying to kind of find those mechanics. There could be more mechanics that I've not really fully caught on to yet, but those are definitely 2 of them for sure. If you've not really tried that, like, obviously you want to go more, personally, I think you would go more loose on the tuning, like looser, max excel, looser chassis, I think is the setting. Fuck, I don't even know. But, if you've played simulators and stuff like that, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out what you need to do to the bike to get it to jump some of this stuff. But I definitely think if you just try to ride around these tracks and you're just working the gas and the brake and you're just kind of leaning just a little bit like you would do in 90% of those milestone games, or even like MX vs. ATV Supercross. I mean, there's just not a whole lot. I think it did have a seat bounce button, I'm pretty sure. But I think Legends is more complex than just a seat bounce button. With all the different jumping, landing, mechanics and animations and extending your jump landings and all this different shit you can do. The bike can do a lot of different things off of these jump faces. It's not like the milestone games where it's like the fucking same thing. The bike's doing the same thing every time you come off the jump face because there's no jumping, landing, air inertia. That is something that Legends has. It just does. It has a landing jumping system that really gives it a cool, variable system to it every time you come off of the jump phase, especially if you're like going a lot faster. Then you add in the clutch boosting, then you add in the terrain deformation, then you add in other riders on the track, and you got yourself a hell of a, a challenge, a hell of a gameplay challenge. You think about trying to hit the biggest possible jumps on these Supercross tracks. Some of them may not even be faster, but I'm just saying, to get the speed and the momentum and the clutch boosting at the right timing to hit some of these massive, and you may be thinking you're hitting the biggest jump on some of these rhythms, but you're actually not. There's like a little bit further of a, you can, instead of jumping on top of that tabletop of the quad, you jump all the way over. I've noticed that with a lot of these Supercross tracks, you'll think you're hitting the biggest rhythm, but you just don't even actually realize, oh shit, you can actually quad into that, not just triple into that. Oh wow, or you can like rail this deformed rut like perfectly with the right momentum and the right clutch boost and bounce up over and then jump up over to this different rhythm that you never even thought you could even do. I just think the clutch boosting is such a critical element to the gameplay of this game. So nonetheless, yeah, it's a timing thing. It's, if you don't really find this to be working for you as good as it is for me, you just may not be timing it right. Of course, if you're deep into this motocross gaming shit, you know how to clutch boost, okay? But I do think there is a quite the element of like playing around with the momentum when you're on the bike. There's a lot of trying to keep that momentum going. And I feel like on the Supercross track specifically, the clutch boosting is massive. And it feels weird because like even on the motocross tracks, I feel like if I can clutch boost every time my wheels come off of the ground and I time it properly, then it's going to make me go faster. That's just what it feels like. It just feels like I'm carrying more momentum. I don't have that weird, like, engine braking bullshit, weird feeling when you land without clutch boosting, It's very similar to a live, if you remember that. Like, sometimes if you hit a big-ass jump on a live and you're not clutch boosting, the bike is just going to land. Even if you land it perfect, it's like there's this landing mechanic that robs the power of the bike naturally with the gameplay of the game. So if you're not clutch boosting, you're not really doing anything to combat that. But anyways, so you best be pulling that clutch in. You best be dumping that clutch when you land. And it takes a lot of leaning as well on these Supercross tracks, and just sometimes you just get a better lap than another lap, by the way. And that's the same way with games like MX Sim and shit like that. It's like, no matter how much you play these games, there's going to be a certain element of like randomness of just the way you happen to land off of this particular jump, and then you can't quite get the momentum to clutch boost to jump, whatever, There's a certain element of that to it, especially with the terrain deformation. But either way, just keep all that shit in mind, big dogs. Appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.